Hello guys, my name's Layla and I will tell you how my stepsister Gina and my fiancé Noel betrayed me. Don't worry, it's not a sad story because I do end up getting revenge for them. To be frank, I always knew that I would have my revenge. I knew it when I saw explicit text between Noel and Gina on my fiancé's phone. He had been acting suspiciously for a while, and I needed to know what was going on. When I saw Gina's name flash on his screen, I immediately knew something was wrong. Gina and I have some bad blood between us. Her father married my mom when we were very young. I didn't know my dad. Well, Gina's parents were divorced, and her mom was in her life until she died. Growing up, I always saw my stepdad, Van, as somewhat my father. I never called him Dad, but he was my father in all senses. My mom died while I was still in high school, and Van was the one who supported me through the grief. I really considered Van my family and also treated Gina like my own sister. But Gina never liked me. She hated me and always thought that she was better than me. Yes, she was more beautiful, and that sort of got to her head. Gina also considered me her competition since the first day. Whenever she couldn't win anything against me, she would throw tantrums and break my things. She did all sorts of nasty stuff, and we were all put into therapy. She even acted out there, and ultimately we had to give up. Despite everything, I still saw Gina as my sister and even helped her out with money whenever she wanted. For the longest time, she wasn't interested in my life, but she suddenly showed up when I got engaged to my fiancé Noel. When Gina found out, she said, "My God, Layla, how did an ugly woman like you land such a handsome and rich man like Noel?" "What are you talking about, Gina? Also, that is very rude. Tell that to someone who cares. It's the truth, Layla. Noel is out of your league. One of these days he will cheat on you and leave you to fend for yourself." "No, Noel will never do that to me. He loves me. He would never betray me like that." "No one can say that for sure, Layla. Who knows? Once he sees me, he might want to be with me instead of you, just like your previous boyfriends preferred me over you." My heart shattered when I heard this. Yes, Gina had sometimes stolen my boyfriends, but as we grew up, she used to think that my boyfriends were not up to her standards. I guess she considered Noel the same until she found out about his wealthy family. Her sudden interest in Noel and her horrible plans made me sick in the stomach. Still, I refused to believe that she would break up my engagement. I thought she was my sister after all. I was wrong. Both Gina and Noel ended up betraying me. They were having an affair behind my back, and they were planning to elope and get married. Gina came up with this plan so that Van would be forced to accept them. Their plans disgusted me. I cried like a child that night after Noel was out sleeping with Gina. But I collected myself and didn't confront them. I had read their texts and knew that they were hiding things from each other. And their marriage would be a disaster. Still, I let them be because I wanted them to get married and suffer the consequences. They deserved to be doomed after betraying me so badly. Gina and Noel eventually eloped and got married. Van was furious and stood by me when he heard the news. Noel's family was furious and also on my side. They were disgusted with both Gina and Noel and actually wanted nothing to do with them. Gina and Noel had expected backlash from their families, which is why they returned a few weeks later and moved into Gina's rented apartment. Gina, being the evil woman she was, kept uploading pictures of their wedding while tagging me everywhere. I knew that she had wanted me to cry and die out of jealousy. My doubt was proven right when I ran into her at a cafeteria and she said, "Hey Layla, how's the grand news treating you? You must be so heartbroken to hear what happened. Have you seen my ring? It's bigger and so much better than yours. Really, Gina, have you no shame at all? I don't want to see your stupid ring." "Oh, don't be so jealous, Layla. You should be happy for your sister. Besides, I did warn you, didn't I, Layla? You should have listened to me. It's not my fault that I'm always a better candidate than you." "How could you do this to me, Gina? We do not have the same parents, but we are still sisters in some sense. I never considered you my competition. In fact, I always did my best to have a good relationship with you. Still, you went behind my back and slept with my fiancé. I just want to know why. I did want to know why she was doing this to me. Since I already knew about their affair and let it happen, I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I didn't even want Noel anymore. In fact, even if he hadn't slept with Gina, I would have broken up with him anyway. He was an outsider who came much later in my life, but Gina had been a part of my life since I was 10. I always accepted her as a sister, but she never saw me as anything other than competition. I still continue to treat Gina with love and respect, only to be betrayed in the worst way possible. It hurts deep when the betrayal comes from family. And yes, I did consider her my family. So it was really important for me to know why she did this to me. Well, her answer was everything that you guys can imagine. She huffed and said, "You are no one to me, Layla. For years you pathetically tried to be my sister and thought that I would suck it up and be one. But you will never be a sister to me. You are nothing but an irritating presence and the evil girl who stole my dad." I didn't steal your dad, Gina. He did his best to give us equal attention and opportunities. It is you who constantly kept demanding more. It was like you had something against me. Oh, I do have something against you, Layla. You took my dad away from me. My dad can only have one princess in his life, and that is me. There is no place for two people. I shouldn't have had to share him with you. Everything of his should have been mine. But there you were, taking up his attention and resources like the greedy woman you are. I was completely taken aback by Gina's words. She didn't owe me a relationship, and I was okay with that. But I hadn't expected her to have so much venom for me. Van is a very fair man who doesn't play favorites. He was a doting father and always did his best to make me feel like I was his child. But that doesn't mean he abandoned his own daughter for me. In fact, there were many times when he cancelled plans with me to be with Gina. I didn't mind that. Van was doing his best to be a good dad, but apparently that wasn't enough for Gina. I said, "How can you be so entitled, Gina? Van has been an excellent father to you. You cannot say in the right conscience that he wasn't a good father to you." "Oh, he may have been a good father to me, but he should have done more. He definitely shouldn't have given you half of his estate on his will. I, as his only daughter, should have gotten it all." "What is wrong with you, Gina? Are you still upset over that? I asked Van to give everything to you already. It was his decision to stick to the will he had planned. I was even thinking of giving you my share in secret if Van doesn't change his mind." So it was just revenge after all. Gina wanted me to pay for taking away half of Van's assets. She wanted everything for herself. She didn't want to share with me because her entitled self didn't consider me family. It is funny that she had no problems asking me for handouts when she was in trouble. But when it came for her to share, she wanted to act like I didn't exist. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Gina. I simply told her how I had actually planned to give her my share if that's what it took for her to be happy. But no, she wouldn't be satisfied with that. She wanted my fiancé as well. She wanted to take everything from me. Gina said, "Oh, don't worry. I am Dad's real daughter, and eventually he will realize that only I have the right to his assets. In the end, I will have it all, while you will be left with nothing now that your fiancé is under my thumb as well." All this just for some money? You really hate me that much, Gina? You hated me so much that you had to take away my love as well? You don't deserve any love, Layla. Your man is better off with me. A powerful man like Noel isn't meant to be with a peasant like you. I am a more suitable candidate for him. I'm more beautiful and classier than you. I laughed at Gina because her words were super funny. Yes, Noel was a handsome man and belonged to a good family. But Gina didn't even know half of the truth about him. Besides, her own claims of being high class were also funny, since she didn't think twice before acting like a loose woman and betraying her own family. She would be nothing but a laughingstock in the society she wanted to be a part of. Since Gina was unaware of that, I said, "You consider yourself someone from high status even after shamelessly stealing your stepsister's man? You think people will look at you with respectful eyes when they find out the truth? Noel's own family is disgusted with both of you." "Oh, please, everyone would forget that eventually. My future is all set. I stole your fiancé, so now I get to marry a rich man. Meanwhile, you will be alone with your sorry self. Maybe you will find some poor man who'll marry you despite your ugly face." "I'm sorry, would you say that again, Gina? I'm not sure I heard you right." "I said that my future is set because I am married to a rich man like Noel. I mean, he is even richer than my father. Now I will get to live a luxurious life while you will be in your small house all alone like the pathetic woman you are." When Gina said this, I literally burst into laughter again. I had no idea that she was that deep in the fog. I mean, Noel did play her for a fool. He is a smooth talker and knows exactly how to charm people. He made Gina truly believe that Noel was a rich man. But in reality, he had nothing. Noel hadn't told Gina that he had gambled his fortune away and only lived on the small allowance he gets from his own family. Now that he has cheated, I know for a fact that Noel is being disowned this time. His family has already had enough. Noel didn't care because he thought that Gina was a rich woman who would give him his dream life. On the other hand, Gina was sitting here telling me stories about how Noel was so rich and would give her the queen life. It was just hilarious. I wanted to throw the truth in Gina's face, but I was biding my time. When karma would finally come for Gina and Noel, it would be freaking hilarious. So I dropped the conversation there and left the cafeteria laughing. Gina looked confused, but was too self-confident to even think that there was something wrong with her plan. The real revenge and karma happened when Van invited me, Gina, and Noel to his house to talk. From what Van told me, Gina seemed to be really excited to come. He said, "I want you to know that I am 100% on your side, Layla. Gina might be my biological daughter, but I didn't raise her this way. I tried so hard to get her to therapy to solve her issues, but she fought me every step of the way." "I know that, Van. I am not blaming you for anything. You tried your best. Gina's faults are not your own." "Still, I do feel horrible, Layla. It pains me to see that my own daughter turned out this way. Don't worry, I won't let her go for what she did. Today she will realize how horribly she has messed up." I didn't want Van to do something against Gina just to make me happy, and I told him that as well. I was already relishing the fact that Gina had no idea what Noel's true life was. And I was also enjoying the fact that Noel thought Gina was worth way more than what she truly was. Knowing the truth gave me a certain power over them, and I knew the day would be really interesting. When Gina and Noel walked in holding hands, I prepared myself to witness the drama that was about to unfold. It was Van who spoke first because both Gina and Noel seemed nervous in front of him. So Van spoke and said, "Let me clear something up, Gina and Noel. If you think I called you here to offer my blessing and forgiveness, you two are wrong." "Dad, why are you being so mean and cold to me? I'm your daughter. You cannot be so cruel to me." "Excuse me, Gina? I am cruel to you? Look at what you have done. You have betrayed your own family and stolen Layla's fiancé from her. Although I am glad you did, because now Layla will find someone who deserves her." "Dad, you can't take Layla's side in everything. This is unfair. I'm your daughter and you should be on my side. Don't you want me to be happy with the man I love? Noel and I are perfect for each other. You should be happy that I'm settling down with a rich man who I love with all my heart." Gina held on to Noel and made those ridiculous puppy eyes at him. Noel comforted her and acted all supportive. It was fun to watch, and it almost made me think that maybe they did care about each other. But again, I knew better than that already, so I kept quiet and simply waited for what Van had to say. He looked furious and said, "You still think you have done nothing wrong, don't you, Gina? Very well. I did what I could to make you see your mistakes and rectify them. Now that I know that you are nothing but an evil woman, I don't want anything to do with you. From today, I will be disowning you and completely writing you out of my will." "What? No, 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 Dad, you can't do that. You can't do that to me." "I can and I will. I don't want my hard-earned money to be lost on some entitled and cruel woman who has no regard for anyone else except for her. I will draw up the papers tomorrow itself. There is no changing my mind." Gina and Noel went absolutely pale when Van told them about his decision. I was even surprised that he had decided to take such a step. I would have told him to think things through, but I knew there was no changing his mind now. Van had completely given up on Gina. Meanwhile, Gina and Noel were freaking out due to two very different reasons. Gina was hyperventilating and crying while Noel looked spooked. They were panicking and didn't know what to do. Gina, as usual, directed her anger at me and said, "You, Layla, you were responsible for this. I'm sure you manipulated my father into doing this. You want everything from me, so you did this." "Don't blame me for your mistakes, Gina. I had nothing to do with you getting disowned. This was all your own doing. Besides, you are the one who wanted everything from me and even stole my fiancé." "You were jealous of me, aren't you, Layla? That's why you made Dad disown me. You planned it all so that I wouldn't get anything from Dad." "Like I said, Gina, I didn't know about Van's decision. Besides, I don't understand why you were getting so worked up. In your words, you married a rich man who will give you a luxurious life. And you said that your husband is even richer than Van." Yes, he is richer than Dad. And yes, he will give me a good life that's even better than any of you. You know what, Dad? Keep your money. I don't need it since I have a rich man to provide for me. Am I right, Noel?" Noel sat there looking flustered. When he didn't reply, Gina kept asking him the last question over and over again. Slowly, Noel started to look away and didn't respond to Gina. They weren't holding hands anymore. In fact, now it looked like Noel was trying to be as far away as possible from Gina. I looked at Van, who knew the whole story, and saw him smirking at me. I realized that he wanted me to take my revenge then and there when those two idiots had been given the worst blows of their lives. So when Gina asked Noel why he was quiet, I said, "There is no use hounding Noel for an answer, Gina. Trust me, he's as shocked as you are. The poor dude thought he would bank off of you and live a good life, and here you are getting all disowned and expecting him to keep you as a trophy wife." "What? What are you talking about? Why would Noel bank off me? He has plenty of money. He has more money than all of us." "Now, that's where you're wrong, Gina. I think there is a misunderstanding between the two of you. Noel is not rich. In fact, my ex-fiancé is broke and married you for money." "That is impossible. You're just lying because I'm going to have the life that you dreamed of. My husband is rich, and he told me everything about it. He comes from a very wealthy family." "That's right. Noel comes from a wealthy family, but he is broke. He lost all his money gambling and is living off an allowance from his parents. Spoiler alert, Gina, that money is also stopping because Noel is being disowned due to his bad decisions and cheating." Gina looked super shocked when I revealed the truth to her. She knew that Noel's family loved me, so there was a possibility that I was telling the truth. Still, she had a hard time believing me because Noel had fed her some elaborate lies. Besides, I hadn't discussed Noel's financial condition with anyone, so it wasn't like Gina would have known anything. She must have looked up his family and then come to her own conclusion. Sadly, her conclusions landed her in this horrible position. Gina was a crying mess when she asked Noel for the truth and he refused to tell her anything. In the end, he said, "Yes, it's true that I'm broke. My family's been giving me money to stay afloat. I was living off of Layla, too, for a while." "Why didn't you tell me those things before? You misled me and lied to me about your wealth." "Don't you dare go putting the blame on me. You made it seem like you were a rich woman yourself. You even said that your father won't leave anything to Layla and give you everything." The opposite of that will happen now. Layla is going to get everything, and I might leave Gina a couple of thousand so that she can't contest the will. Noel and Gina kept fighting while Van was grinning the whole time and reminding them that they were both broke now. The newlywed couple had a nasty fight, which Van and I enjoyed a lot. However, when it became apparent to them that both of them were stuck in a bad place, they turned to us in a very different tone. Both of them were crying and said this to us. "Dad, you can see that I've been lied to. I'm so sorry for what I did and said. I promise to be nice to Layla from now on. Please don't cut me off from your will." "You made your bed. Now you can lie in it, Gina. I'm not changing my mind." "No, Dad. Don't say that, please. Layla, please forgive me. If you forgive me, Dad will forgive me too. I promise to never betray you again. Noel and I will even end our marriage so that you can be with him, right, Noel?" Yes, that's absolutely right, Layla. I love you, so let's get back together. We had such a great relationship for 4 years. Please, forgive me for this once. We can be happy again like we used to be. Things will all go back to normal. What makes you two think I want to have trash in my life? You and I are done, Noel. There is no going back from what you did. As for you, Gina, I'm done looking past your mistakes and betrayals. You two can stay married because you deserve each other. Gina and Noel kept begging and crying to us while Van and I sat there nonchalantly. We did have a few laughs about the ridiculous excuses that they came up with. After a while, things got boring and we jointly kicked Gina and Noel out. They tried to make a bigger scene, but Van threatened to call the cops on them. When Gina and Noel finally left, I told Van that he could forgive Gina if he wanted. I didn't want him to feel like he had to stand up for me, but Van said that I was also his daughter and he wasn't going to allow Gina to treat me badly and walk away without consequences. His love for me really made me cry that day. It was a bittersweet day because I lost my sister and fiancé for real, but I was glad that I got my revenge and finally realized how much Van loved me like his own.